moving on here to this next article. So we got Christie. Christie throwing his name back into the hat after the debacle of Christie's campaign in 2016. Christie is not done being publicly humiliated by Donald J. Trump. And he wants to come back for some more. So it says here the former governor mocked the Florida governor's tussles with Disney and also criticized Trump during a talk hosted by Semaphore. So we got Christie taking shots here at Trump as well as DeSantis in one go. Whoa, attacking Trump and DeSantis, the two top running Republicans. Well, DeSantis isn't running yet, but the two top polling Republicans in a potential primary matchup. So it says Christie, the former governor of New Jersey, slammed Ron DeSantis of Florida as a fake conservative. Rhino, he's fake. He's fake. Take the mask off. Pull it off. It's fake. He's not real. He's not a real conservative underneath. He accused him as being a fake conservative during an event in Washington on Tuesday, one of a string of meetings and stops as he considers a second Republican presidential campaign. The comments made at an event hosted by the media outlet Semaphore were among a wide range of topics that Mr. Christie touched on, including abortion rights and his feeling about former President Trump's election lies. Mr. Christie took a shot at Mr. DeSantis over his efforts to target Disney, a top business in Florida, over a fight that had began when Mr. DeSantis signed legislation that banned classroom teaching and discussion about gender identity and sexual orientation in certain grade schools. Mr. Christie suggested that Mr. DeSantis' efforts to restrict Disney were against traditional conservative principles about small government. Christie didn't get the memo that small government means no help for poor people and no financial aid for anybody that's poor, but plenty of financial aid for people that are rich, as well as small government in cases that you want it, but when you're going against things that you don't want, like abortion or voting rights, or then we want big government. So Christie missed the MO that the whole small government argument is never actually about small government. But I digress. I don't think Ron DeSantis is a conservative based on actions towards Disney, he said. Where are we headed here now that if you just express disagreement in this country, the government is now going to punish you? To me, that's what I always thought liberals did. And now all of a sudden, here we are practicing this in a Republican governor. So I don't exactly know where Christie's been in the last freaking, 7-8 years of American politics. I don't know where he's been. This Republican Party that he's talking about, I don't know if it ever existed. If it did exist, we're going back to like the 70s, okay? And even then, I don't think that the Republicans were ever really for just purely small government. At another point, he mocked Disney's escape from Mr. DeSantis' efforts to appoint a board to oversee it, using references to Xi Jinping, the Chinese leader, and Vladimir Putin of Russia. That's not the guy I want sitting across from President Xi and negotiating our next agreement with China, or sitting across from Putin and trying to resolve what's happening in Ukraine. If you can't see around the corner that Bob Iger created for you, Mr. Christie said. Mr. Christie has been meeting with his staff and some donors and soliciting input from people as he aims to decide in the coming weeks whether or not to run for president. If he does run, he would start at a disadvantage in a party redefined by Mr. Trump. But as Mr. DeSantis has stumbled at times before formally entering the race, and some anti-Trump voices in the Republican Party have grown more interested in a Christie candidacy. anti-Trump voices in the Republican Party are becoming more interested in a Christie candidacy. I mean, who said that? Where are they? I would really like to hear these people and what they have to say about Christie. I haven't heard anybody that said that they're excited about a Christie candidacy. I just haven't. Mr. Trump has taunted DeSantis relentlessly, with Mr. DeSantis largely declined to push back on Mr. Trump. A television ad from the super PAC supporting Mr. DeSantis took issue with Mr. Trump for attacking Mr. DeSantis, a fellow Republican. Mr. Trump has never been bothered by such raised eyebrows. But Mr. Christie has also been willing to take on both Mr. Trump and Mr. DeSantis, who is meeting with lawmakers in Washington on Tuesday. A senior member of Mr. DeSantis' political team, who is not authorized to speak publicly, replied by insulting Mr. Christie, and said he was resorting to attacking a winner. Mr. Christie and Mr. Trump have gone from friends to opponents to allies after Mr. Trump became the nominee in 2016, beating Mr. Christie and all other rivals in the New Hampshire primary. He was the chairman of Mr. Trump's transition team before top Trump aides and Mr. Trump's son-in-law fired him from the role after Election Day. Still, Mr. Christie remained aligned with Mr. Trump. The president considered himself chief of staff at one point late in 2018, but Mr. Christie took himself out of the running. Mr. Christie told the crowd that Mr. Trump hit a point of no return with the lies that the election was stolen from him. There's a difference between spinning politically to try to put yourself in a better position before the vote happens, and after the vote happens to say it was rigged, Mr. Christie said. He also faulted Mr. Trump for declaring in a recent speech that I am your retribution to people who believe they've been wronged. I think a president should be our inspiration, not our retribution, Mr. Christie said. So that's the end of the article. So I'm not really sure the angle Mr. Christie is trying to take here. He's trying to appeal to people who don't like DeSantis, but also don't agree with Trump. But it's like, where are these Republican voters? Where are they? I'm not really sure on a national stage if this strategy is going to even get Christie to 2-3%. Okay, because all Trump has to say is that Christie this, Christie that. I've known Christie. I've worked with Christie. And you know what? He used to be a good guy, but now that he said that the election isn't rigged, Christie is not good for the Republican Party. Christie is a rhino. Christie is a part of the swamp. That's all Trump has to say. That's all. At the moment, Christie hasn't even earned. He hasn't even earned Trump insulting him or really dragging him at all, because he's so much of a non-threat. Okay, Trump's focus is on DeSantis at the moment, right? But it's like Christie went into a time capsule right before during the 2016 primary, before Trump won state after state after state and disbanded a whole stable of Republican candidates. It's like he went into a time capsule and he woke up just last week, and he hasn't seen anything that's transpired in the Republican Party in the last, multiple years. I just don't think that there's any angle. There's no angle for him to pitch to voters, because the Republican Party is all enthralled with Trump's grievances. Okay, just look at the polling. 75, 60, 65, 70, 75% of the Republican Party agrees with Trump on everything. Okay, so it's not really going to work to just say that, oh, well, I think that it's bad to talk about the election being stolen after the election, after it was obvious that it wasn't stolen. It just doesn't make any sense to me, because Christie has to be tapping into the Trump voter base. You have to be tapping into it if you have any chance at all. And Christie has been so disaligned with a lot of the Trumpism stuff that now he just wants the Republican Party to just suddenly just flip back over to being the party of small government, or something, you know, just at the snap of his fingers. Just unfortunately for Mr. Christie here, I don't think it's gonna work, and I think it's a losing strategy.